So I've been waiting forever to make one of these, and let's make it so the background isn't so crappy, other than the fact that there's a door behind me. So basically a podcast, and today what we're going to talk about is Charlie Kirk and the assassination of Charlie Kirk. There's a lot to go over, not really in what happened. Basically someone assassinated him. They shot him in the upper abdomen, lower chest. The bullet ricocheted off the bulletproof vest, going up into his artery, and he died shortly after. For most of the country, he was an extremely nice person. His debates never got out of line. He never belittled people. He never wanted people to die. He didn't want violence. He didn't have hate. And this man had a wife and kids, and all he was doing was going around the country, campus to campus, and basically fighting the narrative, I guess you could say, or basically being, God, what is that term? I don't really remember the term, but basically he's just going against the grain and wanting people to think for themselves. You don't have to believe me, but here are the facts, and this is why what you're saying is wrong or being misled, and because of that, this is why you think that way. So instead, let's go over the facts and let's talk about why you're wrong, or why you could be wrong, or why your opinion is wrong, and go from there. So that's the first part. That's the simplest part. I guess the introduction of Charlie Kirk and him dying. Obviously, what I've found is that it is super easy to ramble and forget about what you're talking about. So we're just going to go over random stuff that has happened and kind of fix the idea around the stuff. One of the things was South Park removed an episode that had to do with Charlie Kirk, and also removed some stuff that had to do with Trump supporters. And a lot of people are upset on both sides because and this is not a generalization towards one side or the other, but the liberal comments are talking about pulling up quotes from him about comedy and things like that, saying you shouldn't remove it because it goes against what he believes. And like the Republican side of it is, that man thought that episode was funny as shit, you should leave it up. And that's not what happened. What happened was, because of the tragedy that unfolded onto him, South Park removed the episode to be respectful towards the dead and the dead's family. This is normal. Today is 9/11. 24 years after actual 9/11 happened. Right after 9/11 happened, they took the song off the radio, Bodies, or Let the Bodies Hit the Floor, whatever, by Drowning Pool. Why? Mainly because all of the bodies that were hitting the ground from people trying to escape the Twin Towers that were jumping out. They removed the song from the radio station all around the country out of respect for the dead. Not to hit Drowning Pool or to be mean to them or anything. It was too close of a reminder of what happened, and it was felt that it was disrespectful. There was a school shooting. I don't know if it was Sandy Hook or which shooting it was, but the song Pumped Up Kicks, which is a super catchy song that is also about a school shooting, was removed from the radio shortly after a school shooting to be respectful to the dead and the families that were still left. It's just what we do. It is empathetic, sympathetic, whatever. And right now my phone's blowing up because I commented on a Reddit because Charlie Kirk had a quote about empathy. Let me see if I can find it. Charlie Kirk's quote about empathy. And a lot of people are super taking it out of context. Let's see. Accept all cookies here. Context. 2022. He thought of empathy as very effective when it comes to politics, and that he prefers sympathy over empathy. That was the short version of it. What people have been posting online is saying, I can't stand the word empathy. Actually, I think empathy is a made-up New Age term that it causes a lot of damage. And then they cut it off from there. But it goes on to say, let's see if I can find it here. It does a lot of damage, but it is very effective when it comes to politics. Sympathy, I prefer more than empathy. That's a separate topic for a different time. At no point did he say that people shouldn't be empathetic towards others. He said he didn't like the use of the word because it felt like a New Age woke term or a political term. It's the crap like that that makes people hate. You know, all these people are commenting about like, oh, he's not empathetic, I'm not giving him empathy, and blah, 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 whatever stupid crap. And all they're doing is taking it out of context, because right underneath it, he says he would prefer the use of the word sympathy in its place. So that's just, I don't know, humans being ignorant, I guess. So here is one of my issues in all of this, is the hate. So we have a man who was assassinated, is the correct term, because he is a political figure. He was assassinated. If he was just a regular run-of-the-mill person, it would just be considered a murder. So this gentleman was murdered / assassinated, more than likely because of hate. Somebody hated his opinion or thought that his opinion was hateful towards them. Either way, it was rooted in hate. Plus, if you didn't hate somebody, I don't think you could go through with killing them. But whatever. The issue is, I post this stuff on my story, and most people are inboxing me, and they're still part of the problem. They're like, yeah, liberal this, liberal that, yeah, Republican this, Republican that, yeah, F that person and F this person. Look, this man died because of hate. He deserves justice. The person that killed him deserves to be punished, and people should not sit back and forget what happened to him. But responding in a hateful manner towards other people because of their political beliefs is the exact same thing that just happened to him. So instead of being F this person, that person can die, or whatever kind of crazy crap, you are being part of the problem. All human beings, besides there's three human beings that don't deserve to live. The rest of them do. 1, pedophiles. 2, rapists. And 3, murderers. Those are the only 3 people that don't deserve to be in this world. And if you're going to hate someone or want to off somebody or kill somebody, pick one of those 3 people, and also make sure they're guilty before just making up crap and calling someone a rapist, a pedophile, or a murderer. Cause that shit's crazy. A local girl, pretty positive she was a superintendent for a school district, which was crazy because when they posted on the news last year, it's like 20 or 21-year-old, this person becomes superintendent of this school district. It's like, that's crazy. She's super young. Clearly, it's got to be smart. And it's got to be a dream job. There's no way a teacher or a person in that industry isn't like, hell yeah, I'm 21 years old, and I'm at the top of my game. That was May 2024. She's had that job since then. Yesterday, she posted about him being dead and then put well-deserved. did not go well. I think she misread the American population. Because of that, everything she said negative about him or shared to him was blown up all over the internet. The news covered it. The girl removed her Facebook, her Instagram, her TikTok, everything, and she was fired from her job. And a lot of people are commenting on it, and they're like, oh, the anti-cancel culture is canceling people. That's not what happened. Sorry, long day at work. That's not what happened. What happened was, yesterday, there was a school shooting. September 10th, there was a school shooting. Charlie Kirk was at a school. He was shot at a school. That is a school shooting. So we have the superintendent for a school district saying congratulations or being happy about the fact that there was a shooting at a school. So that is why she lost her job, was because she was celebrating a school shooting at the end of the day, which is literally in every way, shape, or form against what she does for a living. At the end of the day here, what we have is an entire country that, for most of us, could say is at the brink of a civil war, or the brink of some sort of a war, as we have split the country in two. We've spent the last, I'm trying to think how long it's been, maybe since 2012. We've spent basically probably since 2012, as social media continues to grow, basically burning the country down from the inside out, whether it has to do criminals, police shooting, racism, politics, school shootings, assassinations, assassination attempts. It's just something new every day. And I don't think there's any conspiracy involved. Everybody wants to conspiracy everything. They've already got the conspiracies about this, how people are being like, oh yeah, the Republicans had Kirk killed because it knew it would help them. What? Or the Democrats can't handle the truth, that's why they murdered him. No group of human beings is responsible for what happened. A single human being is. It wasn't like he was an important figure, but he's not an important figure in a way that an entire organization would want him dead. You know, it would be if you were to say a group of politicians tried to have Trump assassinated, that would make sense. I get that. It could hurt their livelihood, what he's doing to the country. You know, they could put term limits on stuff. They could cut out programs that are sending them kickbacks and money and whatever else. All Charlie Kirk was doing was going to universities and giving them another option. You know, it's not this, the university is no longer this super democratic or Democrat liberal institution that is brainwashing children to be liberals. It is an institution, a school, and he's going school to school and just debating facts, debating opinions, debating politics, and being the, God, what is that damn term? The devil's advocate. Not the correct term, word for word, but the terminology itself would be the devil's advocate. Poking the bear, doing things different, opening people's minds, taking them out of the matrix, you know, giving them the red pill versus the blue pill or whatever. And somebody killed him for it, you know. And I saw a Reddit post with 9,000 comments on it, all hateful, all towards him, how it's worth it, he's dead, he should be dead, nobody should show empathy for him, and just crazy stuff. And it's people are like, the only thing I love about Charlie Kirk is that he gave us so many comments to throw back at the Republicans and the mainstream media. And it's like, hold on. the mainstream media, do some Trump shit. The mainstream media, you know what, I fucked that up. I'm not going to try it again. I can usually do a pretty decent impression of them, but the mainstream media for the last year has been anti-Trump in almost every single way. Then Charlie Kirk dies, and politicians, celebrities, comedians, news channels, everybody's up in arms about how messed up this is and how that it should never happen. And now all of a sudden, people are like, yeah, the mainstream media, they're covering it up, they're pushing a narrative. It's like, you can only have it one way or the other. Either they're anti-Republican or they're anti-Democrat. They can't be anti-Republican and anti-Democrat at the same time. It doesn't work like that. People are hypocrites, and they continually change the narrative to match their own opinion, their own narrative, their own whatever. I can go on Google right now, and I could say, what color is the sky? The answer is going to be blue, right? Or the answer is going to be white, in that the blue color is light that's refracted or reflected off the surface of the earth. You know, light that came from the ocean and goes back up in the sky, turns the sky blue. Okay? But I could also search, what color is the sky right before a tornado hits? What color is the sky? And so you can modify what you are looking for to find the answer that you're looking for. If you think certain things happen a certain way, you can modify the question and mislead Google, mislead the search engine to giving you the answer you want. It doesn't mean that it's the correct answer, it's just the answer that you wanted. And man, I rambled on too long. I don't even remember what I was talking about. But at the end of the day, it is people only believe what they want to believe, and people will change the story to fit their own beliefs. And at the end of the day, and I keep saying at the end of the day, today is September 11th, 2025. Yesterday was September 10th. Now, it will go down in history that on 9/10/25, Charlie Kirk was assassinated at a university in Utah in front of his entire family, in front of the entire world watching it live, because of his political opinion. And in history books, it's not going to look any different than when Martin Luther King was assassinated, when John F. Kennedy was assassinated. It's not going to look any different. All this person did was create a new martyr for the world. Right now, let's do some general examples, stereotypes here. Right now, a black gentleman gets beat up and murdered by a police officer, okay? People that are offended by it are going to start protesting, right? We don't like it, we're going to protest. The protests end up becoming violent. They end up turning into riots, and they damage cars, police, buildings, property, and a lot of stuff gets stolen. Now, Charlie Kirk gets assassinated. He is a political figure. He's loved by tons of people, but he's Republican, okay? So the people that are mad mostly are Republicans, and a ton of Democrats are mad that somebody was murdered for their opinion when they didn't deserve it, which is what everybody's belief system should be. God damn. But like I said, they made a complete martyr out of him. And that's what we're all going to see forever, is that this man was murdered for his opinion. And that should have never happened. And it sucks because, like I said, there's kids that are going to grow up without a dad, a wife that's going to grow up without a husband, and a world that's going to grow up without this person in it that was having a super positive impact. I remember where I was going. Republicans don't act that way. They haven't in a long time. And it's not that all Republicans act a certain way. It's not that all Republicans act a certain way or all Democrats act a certain way. That type of thinking is what leads to hate. But typically, the Republican side of the country doesn't react to those things the same way the Democrat side does. But the assassination is a big thing. That is way different than anything else that's happened in a long time. And the problem is, at some point, people are going to be mad enough to do something about it. We've already seen videos of this happening before. That girl that called that little kid the N-word a bunch, and then when confronted about it, she stood on it, and then got confronted again and stood on it some more. Now, I don't ever think that you should call a small child the N-word. I don't think you should call any human being the N-word. But those are signs that the world is changing and that people are no longer sitting back and taking things. And how long or how many times does stuff like today have to happen before people start taking things in their own hands? You know, how many school shootings have to happen before... I don't even know how someone would react to that. But, you know, how many politicians need to be assassinated or attempted to assassinated before whatever party is on the opposite side is like, no, we're not doing this shit anymore. No matter how many of us can sit back and say that we wish or we would love to have a civil war or whatever people would say, nobody wants to go to war. Nobody wants to kill people. Nobody wants to murder people. Nobody wants to hurt people unless they're a psychopath. But a civil war is coming for the United States if something doesn't change. Hate continues to be bred in this country, regardless of political affiliation. And when there's enough hate on both sides, the curtain will fall and a lot of bad things are going to happen. And so I just hope for my kids' sakes and everyone else's sake and everyone else's kids that we don't have to experience that. And I'd hope that the injustices that have happened recently, the Ukrainian refugee on the train station, the football player, the Charlie Kirk, the president almost getting assassinated, the school shootings. I think there's another school shooting today. All of this crazy crap. Something has to be done about it. And hopefully people are going to stop sitting by and watching people get stabbed to death, watching people get shot, letting schools get shot up. Hopefully people will stand up. I just hope that people stand up before standing up means war.